We always have to pay this $8 fee, which they started implementing this last August. They call it a promo fee. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it goes to. And we always have to pay that.
Two Denver's clubs, strip clubs, Diamond Cabaret and Rick's Cabaret, are being ordered to pay nearly $14 million in restitution to their employees. The Denver Auditor's Office found that they violated nearly every applicable provision of Denver's minimum wage and wage theft ordinances. A lawyer for the clubs called it government overreach. We're going to continue our coverage of this story with our 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor, to break down what the company, what the businesses did wrong, and then what else can the employees do here?
Yeah.
Businesses did a lot, it sounds like, or they're accused of.
Yeah, I read the auditor's report today, which was 40 pages long, and according to that, there was a number of issues that they violated, and which was resulting in this fine. And so, for example, they required the dancers to pay a house fee of up to $85 per shift, an $8 promotion fee, which they never really described what that was. So before they even worked, they were already in a deficit of $93. So, and then there were a number of other issues. They couldn't leave the stage until another dancer came on. They were fined $25 for missing a shift. The managers took tips. That's a major issue is managers taking tips. They're not allowed to take tips unless it's a very specific situation. And so these were all a bunch of violations that the Denver Auditor, the Denver Labor Division of the Denver Auditor found. And so these were really egregious, resulting in these fines and restitution of $14 million.
I mean, $14 million is a lot of money, but when you have the auditor's office coming out and saying that they violated nearly every provision of wage theft and minimum wage laws, again, these are allegations, but this investigation surely doesn't look good for these clubs.
Right.
What comes next? I mean, can they file lawsuits? Is there a statute of limitations?
Right.
What comes next?
So there is a statute of limitations, and I actually had a number of different people reach out to ask, hey, I worked there in 2004 and 2014, and those statutes have ran. The statute of limitations is probably 2 or 3 years, depending on the particular claim. And so here, the numbers are, I think, 11.3 million was for restitution, and that was the 2.6 million in essentially stolen wages, plus a 300% penalty and damages, 12% annual interest.
It adds up.
Right, so it adds up very quickly, and then there was 2.6 million in city fines. So this was very significant, but it was so egregious and it was going on for so long that's a major issue in terms of why these numbers are so high.
You would think there's going to be some kind of a settlement here, unless they try to go to trial. I mean, how are they defending themselves?
Right. So there was a long statement from the defendant's attorneys, and they essentially said this is government overreach. There was no complaint to initiate this. There were a number of things about the procedural issues, but they didn't really tackle the substantive issue, which to me is very outstanding because the substantive issues were very relevant. There were a number of violations. So now what they can do is they can certainly appeal this Denver Auditor's decision. I don't know if it makes sense. There could be individual claims from some of these different workers, and it was the dancers, it was the barbacks, the bartenders. So there were a number of people who felt their rights were violated. And I was just saying earlier, before we started, I'm not clear if this also included the state and federal claims, because a lot of times what happens is when a company is found to misclassify their employees and call them independent contractors when they're actually employees, or not paying minimum wage or workers' comp or things like that, all these other government agencies come in and start their investigation as well. So you could see, if the state and federal claims are not included, you could see a number of other claims being asserted later against these two defendants for sure.
Yeah, in any situation that involves wage theft or stolen wages or whatever it might be, it's important that these people have a voice.
Yes.
And in this case, the auditor's office came into this investigation and is, in a sense, giving people a voice.
Yes, so. for sure. And that's the issue, is that, and I heard some of the statements from the dancers or whatever, and they said, we still matter. Like this is something, and it's so relevant because we're seeing now really in our country this sort of inequity in power when you have these corporations and then these employees, and that's when you're starting to see more union activity, more people power, and that's really what you're seeing here is kind of the little guy being stood up for.
Whitney, there's a lot to go through. We'll see what happens next in this. I think
Yeah.
we're going to see more news break. Thank you.
I'll be back.